Men don't usually confess it, but they feel it. That magnetic pull, sometimes towards someone much younger, sometimes towards someone much older. And then comes the panic. What will people think? What if I'm being played? What if years from now I realize I walk straight into a trap? That's the risk every man faces when he enters an age gap relationship blind. Society won't tell you the truth. It keeps you distracted with labels, with mockery, with surface-level jokes, while the real danger hides beneath. Because these relationships aren't just about attraction. They're about power, time, wounds, and exchange. Ignore that, and you won't just lose respect. You'll lose yourself. And that's why I made this video. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to expose the hidden truth about age gap dynamics that men were never meant to hear. What you're about to discover might make you breathe easier, or it might shake your entire perspective. Before we dive deep, do me a quick favor. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now and tap the like button so more men can hear what I'm about to share. And let me know in the comments, yes or no. Have you ever secretly felt pulled into an age gap dynamic? Let's get into it. You don't talk about it out loud, but you felt the weight, the sideways glances, the mocking comments, the whispers behind your back. The moment you find yourself drawn to a younger woman, society rushes in with labels: insecure, desperate, predatory. The moment you're interested in an older woman, the story flips: weak, directionless, a boy looking for a mother. No matter what you do, you lose. That's the game society forces men into. But here's the raw truth most men never admit. You're not battling your own desire. You're battling the cage society built around you. The shame you feel? It didn't start inside you. It was planted there. Men are conditioned to laugh off attraction jokes, to stay silent, to swallow their curiosity, because the system decided your choices must be policed. Think about it. The same world that mocks an older man with a younger woman will celebrate an older woman with a younger man. One gets painted as pathetic, the other as empowered. That's not logic. That's social engineering. It's a double standard designed to keep you second-guessing yourself. And here's the danger. Most men internalize that judgment. They believe the whispers. They censor themselves before anyone else has to. That's how you end up living in fear of opinions instead of living in clarity about your own choices. So if you want real freedom, the first step isn't to change who you're attracted to. The first step is to recognize that the shame doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the world that taught you to feel it. The question isn't, what will they think of me? The question is, why do I keep giving them permission to decide what's acceptable for me? Now let's strip away the noise and look at the engine underneath. Attraction doesn't follow polite rules. It follows design. When you feel pulled toward a younger woman, it's not because you're shallow. It's because biology whispers that youth carries vitality, fertility, and possibility. Her presence lights up your nervous system, not because society told you to want her, but because life itself coded that signal into your blood. On the other side, when a man feels drawn to an older woman, it's not weakness, it's recognition. Experience leaves fingerprints. An older woman often radiates something no younger girl can fake: emotional steadiness, wisdom, and grounding energy that cuts through chaos. She has lived, she has lost, she has learned, and all of that creates a presence that speaks to a man's craving for peace and depth. Here's what matters. Neither pull is wrong. Both are natural responses to different kinds of value. Youth excites because it points to the future. Maturity attracts because it anchors you in the present. But society wants to reduce both to caricatures. Either you're chasing beauty to hide from aging, or you're looking for a mother figure because you're broken. That's lazy judgment. The truth is simpler and sharper. Attraction isn't a moral failure. It's information. It's data about what phase of life you're in, what your soul is hungry for, and what you might be missing. The danger doesn't come from the attraction itself. The danger comes from pretending it shouldn't exist. You don't control the spark. What you control is what you do with it. And the first move is to stop shaming yourself for feeling it. But let's take it deeper. Attraction itself isn't dangerous. The danger comes when you chase it for the wrong reasons. Many men walk into an age gap relationship thinking they're pursuing love, when in reality, they're running from themselves. A younger partner can feel like a magic cure for the fear of getting older. Her laughter makes you forget the mirror. Her attention numbs the quiet panic of irrelevance. It feels intoxicating until it doesn't. With an older partner, the trap is different, but just as powerful. She becomes the anchor you've been craving. Her guidance feels like safety. Her nurturing feels like home. But if you're not careful, that comfort morphs into dependency. What starts as attraction turns into leaning on her to fill wounds you never faced. And once you depend on someone else to patch your emptiness, you're no longer leading, you're clinging. So, how do you know if your desire is real connection or just a cover-up? Ask yourself 3 brutal questions. 1. If she were my age, would I still feel the same pull? 2. Is what I admire about her something permanent or something guaranteed to fade with time? 3. Does this relationship help me face my insecurities, or does it help me forget them? If those answers sting, good. They're supposed to. Painful honesty is the only filter strong enough to separate real love from desperate distraction. Attraction is never the trap. Blindness is. The moment you mistake escape for intimacy, you stop choosing her for who she is and start choosing her for what she helps you avoid. That's when the relationship becomes a cage disguised as freedom. And that's just the beginning. Every relationship involves an exchange. That's not cynical, it's reality. The problem begins when men confuse that exchange for unconditional love. And in age gap dynamics, those exchanges are sharper, easier to see, and much harder to admit. Let's break it down. When an older man pairs with a younger woman, the pattern is almost textbook. She brings beauty, vitality, and a sense of adventure. He offers stability, protection, and resources built over years. Both are getting something they crave. She feels secured and guided. He feels rejuvenated and admired. Does that make it wrong? Not necessarily, but it does make it transactional. And transactions only last as long as the goods still feel valuable. Now, flip the script. When an older woman is with a younger man, the trade looks different but works the same way. She provides wisdom, emotional grounding, sometimes even professional connections or financial stability. He brings ambition, drive, and raw energy that reminds her of the hunger she fears losing. Again, it works, but again, it's an exchange. And here's the trap. Admiration isn't loyalty. Excitement isn't devotion. Security isn't intimacy. If you blur those lines, you'll mistake temporary trades for permanent bonds. And when the exchange shifts, when her beauty fades in your eyes, or when his ambition turns elsewhere, the relationship cracks under the weight of unmet expectations. So, how do you protect yourself? Use a simple give-get check. Grab a notebook. On one side, write down what you give in the relationship. On the other, write down what you get. Be brutally honest. If all you see are surface-level values, looks, money, status, then what you have is not a partnership. It's a deal, and deals expire. Now, don't get me wrong. Love can include exchange. But if exchange is the foundation, the structure won't survive the storms of time. The point isn't to demonize the trade. The point is to stop lying to yourself about what it is. Call it what it is, and then decide if that's enough for you. Here's where it gets harder. You might think it's just you and her against the world, but the truth is, the world never stays silent. The moment people see a gap in age, they load the shotgun of judgment. If you're older with a younger woman, you're called a sugar daddy. If you're younger with an older woman, you're labeled a boy toy. Friends will whisper, family will question, strangers will smirk. And if you let their voices echo long enough, they'll start sounding like your own. The irony? Most of those critics don't actually care about your happiness. They care about protecting their version of normal. When you step outside their script, it threatens them. So they mock you, not because they found truth, but because they can't face their own discomfort. But here's the danger. Judgment only has power if you let it crawl inside you. The more you shape your choices around their approval, the weaker your foundation becomes. Eventually, you won't even know if you're with her because you want her, or because you're trying to prove something to everyone else. So how do you cut through the noise? Run a clarity drill. Grab a pen and write down 3 real reasons you're in the relationship. Not the reasons you'd tell your mother, not the reasons you'd share with friends, the real ones. If all 3 are about what she gives you, and none are about what you build together, you've just uncovered a red flag. Clarity doesn't silence critics, but it strips them of their power. When you know exactly why you're there, their labels stop sticking. You stop needing their approval because your decision isn't theirs to validate. It's yours to own. Now let's talk about something men rarely see until it's too late. Power. Power doesn't always look like domination. In age gap relationships, it often shows up as subtle leverage. And whether you're with someone younger or older, you need to understand the blind spots that make you vulnerable. With a younger woman, the pull is obvious. Her youth reminds you of your own. She doesn't need to say it out loud. She knows the way your eyes light up when her presence makes you feel alive again. If she chooses, she can use that spark to keep you hooked. Not by offering depth or vision, but by dangling the illusion of youth. The danger isn't her age. The danger is your fear of losing yours. With an older woman, the dynamic shifts. She often becomes the guide, the nurturer, the anchor. And yes, that can feel like home. But if she hasn't dealt with her own wounds, that nurturing can morph into control. Her advice becomes law. Her care becomes leverage. What started as balance slowly tips into dependency. The danger isn't her experience. The danger is your hunger for someone else to carry your weight. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about painting women as villains. Most aren't plotting to exploit men. They're acting from their own blind spots, just like you. Her need for security, her fear of being alone, her craving for validation, those drivers can twist the dynamic without her even realizing it. The solution? Run a dual blind spot scan. Ask yourself, what unspoken need is she leaning on? What unspoken fear am I bringing into this? If you can name both, you can navigate with clarity instead of slipping into dependency. Because the moment you let your blind spot steer, you're no longer leading. You're being led without even knowing it. And that's only one part of the hidden cost. There's another silent partner in every age gap relationship, and it's one you can't negotiate with. That partner is time. In the next part, we'll break down how time either builds or breaks age gap relationships and why most men underestimate its power until it's already too late. Every age gap relationship carries a silent partner. You don't see it at the dinner table, you don't hear it in the bedroom, but it's always there, shaping the bond in ways you can't ignore forever. That partner is time. At first, time feels like an ally. With a younger woman, her energy drags you into her world of excitement and possibility. For a while, it's intoxicating. You feel alive again. But her timeline isn't yours. She's chasing adventure while you're thinking about legacy. She's just starting her climb while you're searching for solid ground. That gap doesn't close with chemistry. It widens with years. With an older woman, time works differently. In the beginning, it feels like alignment. Her wisdom stabilizes your hunger. Her grounding balances your ambition. But as the years pass, you enter your prime, just as she begins confronting decline. You're expanding while she's letting go. At first, you ignore it. Later, it becomes a shadow. Eventually, if left unspoken, it hardens into resentment. Time isn't cruel. It's just consistent. It doesn't bend to desire. It doesn't make exceptions for romance. The mistake most men make is believing they've beaten the clock. You haven't. No one has. The only way to avoid waking up blindsided is to run a timeline alignment. Put your lives side by side over the next 5 years. Career, health, family, lifestyle. Do they run parallel, or are they already diverging? If the delta is too wide, you're not in denial-proof love. You're in a countdown. Attraction can blind you to time, but time will never blind itself to you. Ignore it, and you'll pay the price. Respect it, and at least you'll choose with open eyes instead of wishful thinking. Now let's talk about cost. Because every relationship carries a price, but in age gap dynamics, that price doesn't trickle in. It compounds. With a younger woman, the price often shows up in energy and patience. At first, it feels flattering when she looks up to you for guidance, when she leans on your stability. But over time, that role shifts from partner to teacher, even parent. Instead of building together, you find yourself carrying her. What once energized you begins to drain you. What began as vitality becomes exhaustion. With an older woman, the cost is different. She may give you wisdom, grounding, and comfort. But are you ready to inherit her past? Her disappointments, her unhealed scars, her expectations? They don't disappear just because you walked into her life. Sometimes you become the outlet for wounds you didn't cause, the target of burdens you never agreed to. Her maturity steadies you, but it can also suffocate you if it morphs into control. And then there's the social cost, the whispers, the smirks, the constant need to justify yourself. At first you brush it off, but it chips away at you. Friends question your motives. Family resists. Strangers label you before they even know your heart. Eventually, those external doubts become internal ones. So how do you prepare? Keep a cost ledger. Track what you're giving: time, money, freedom, reputation, and what you're getting back. If the costs outweigh the gains for 90 days straight, you're no longer in love. You're in debt. And debt always comes due with interest. Here's the part most men miss. An age gap relationship isn't just about her, it's about you. Whether she's younger or older, what you see in her is often a mirror of what you're running from or reaching for inside yourself. That's the hidden truth men rarely face. A younger woman might reflect your fear of aging, your hunger to feel relevant, your craving to be admired. The attraction feels like desire, but underneath, it's often desperation. A desperate need to prove you've still got it. An older woman might reflect your longing for nurturing, your wish to be guided, your desire to be understood without explaining yourself. That feels like connection, but it's often dependency in disguise. The mirror never lies. It magnifies your blind spots until they can no longer be ignored. And here's the brutal reality. If you enter a relationship without knowing your wounds, she will find them. Not out of malice, but because wounds always surface. And once they surface, they shape the dynamic, often in ways that weaken you. So what do? Build a trigger map. Write down 3 situations where you overreacted recently: anger, jealousy, insecurity. Then trace each reaction back to the belief behind it. Maybe it's, I'm only valuable if I'm desired. Maybe it's, I'll be abandoned if I'm not needed. Once you name the belief, you strip it of its power. The relationship isn't the problem. The mirror is the gift. If you use it, you grow stronger. If you avoid it, you stay trapped. Age gaps don't create your wounds. They just make them loud enough that you can't pretend they don't exist anymore. Now, not every age gap relationship is a trap. Some become rare connections that silence the noise and defy the odds. But those don't happen by accident. They happen when both people bring clarity instead of illusion, strength instead of wounds, and honesty instead of denial. Here's the reality: love isn't blind. Love that lasts sees everything, the years, the differences, the risks, and still chooses anyway. Chooses. If you walk into an age gap, hoping time won't matter, hoping wounds won't surface, hoping judgment will fade, you're already losing. But if you walk in with eyes wide open, you give the bond a chance to grow roots deeper than attraction. So how do you know if it's real? Run it through a green flag checklist. 1. Do your 5-year visions align? Career, family, lifestyle, health, values. 2. When you list the reasons you're together, do at least half go beyond surface trades like looks or money. 3. When conflict comes, do you both fight for the relationship instead of against each other? 4. Do you feel freer with them, not smaller? If you can't say yes to those, the foundation isn't love, it's convenience. When those green flags line up, the age difference fades. The bond stops being about filling gaps and starts being about building something. That's when judgment loses its grip. That's when whispers become irrelevant. That's when even time itself feels less like an enemy. So here's the truth: age gap relationships are never automatically doomed or automatically blessed. They are tests. They magnify your strengths or expose your weaknesses. And if you step in with courage, clarity, and discipline, they can sharpen you into a man who doesn't just chase love, he chooses it wisely. Because the number itself was never the enemy. The blind spots were. These relationships magnify your fears of irrelevance. They magnify your hunger for validation. They magnify your craving for stability, your longing to feel seen, your desperation to escape yourself. That's why they feel so intoxicating. And that's why they can feel so destructive. Because they don't just reveal her, they reveal you. Walk in blind, and the cost will cut deeper than you expect. Your time, your freedom, your energy, even your sense of who you are. Walk in awake, and those same dynamics can sharpen you. They can expose your weak points, not to destroy you, but to force you to grow. The age gap is not the problem. The problem is mistaking attraction for destiny, need for love, and dependency for intimacy. So stop asking whether age gap relationships are right or wrong. Start asking if they're real. Are you choosing her because she aligns with your vision, or because she soothes a fear you don't want to face? Are you building a bond that can survive time, or are you just trying to outrun it? The answers won't be comfortable, but they are necessary, because in the end, this was never about her age. It was about your clarity, and the men who thrive aren't the ones who avoid the mirror. They're the ones who stare into it, face the reflection, and lead anyway. Now it's your turn. Have you ever been in an age gap relationship or secretly wanted one? What did it reveal about you? Share your story in the comments below. And if this spoke to you, subscribe, like, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because the truth is rarely easy, but it's always better than living blind.